Last year you went pretty safe on the Premier League. You went United, City and Chelsea, but eventually you nailed down United for the title, and until the last 3 minutes of the season you were almost there.
It looked nailed on, didn't it? Let's face it, I don't think even the most ardent City fan would have thought they could have pulled it out from that situation, and somehow they did. So fair play to them on that. But I think the 3 selections were pretty accurate, because I got the 2 that finished right up there, and the Champions League winners. So it wasn't too bad prediction-wise in the Premier League. I think it's going to be City and United again. I really can't see anybody getting above them. I think Chelsea will be competitive, Arsenal will be competitive, teams like that will be all right. But I really can't see anyone other than United or City winning the Premiership again.
AFC Fylde and Fleetwood both promoted, and you predicted they would be there or thereabouts, and you were right.
Yeah, for sure. I backed Fleetwood to win the conference last year, 4-1. I backed them again this year to win League 2. I think they'll win it again. I think Andy, who I spoke about last year, very, very passionate man, very, very football orientated. He doesn't stand still. He believes in moving forward all the time. They've signed another 9-10 players on this season, and some big names in there. So I expect them to go up. Absolutely certain they're going to go up this year, and will probably win it. So I think they'll do well. And obviously Dave Aythornthwaite down at Fylde, he's got the right manager there now. Who's been there, done it, took teams up through the divisions. I expect to see them again competitive in that Evo Stick Premier League, and there's every chance that they'll be challenging promotion as well this year.
One other one that you got was AFC Blackpool and Squires Gate, both finishing mid-table. AFC Blackpool just finished above Squires Gate. What do you see for those two sides this season?
Yeah, again, I can't see him winning it. It's at this level of football, like most levels, as you see with City and the big clubs, Real Madrid's in your teams like that. It's about money and who gets the best players. The budgets that they've got available is minimal against the teams they're competing against. AFC Blackpool, they with Stuart, they'll always do okay. He's a passionate man, and he has them fit and raring. It's a good club. But they lose players. I mean, their star man Niall has moved on to Berska, the striker, and I think they're losing players to clubs like that because the other clubs have got money. They would have lost Waddo if Fylde would have kept him and carried on paying him, but he's just been squeezed out of Fylde because they're getting sort of bigger players in there, if you will, that are on bigger money. So I think again they'll be competitive. They started off with a good win on Saturday. 1-1-0 away at Norton. Gate opened up with a 3-3 draw, and I think they'll be okay, but I cannot see them getting into that top 5 or 6. There's no way.
Looking at even the last side in this triangle, Wren Rovers, what do you see for them this season?
Well, Wren Rovers do the same every year for me. I mean, they start off they play against, quite rightly, they play against bigger sides in the non-league sort of pyramid, your Kendalls and teams like that, and they always they're competitive. I mean, they beat AFC Blackpool comfortably down here a couple of weeks ago, 4-1. They drew 1-1 with Kendall and should have won, to be fair. Kendall let themselves down that day because they didn't give the ball back on a throw-in when one of their players was injured, and they go up and score from it, which is typical. But they give a very competitive performance. Then on Saturday, the first game of the season, they lose 3-0. Now there's a new manager at Wren Rovers, Scott McNeil. Scott's a passionate lad who's got his coaching badges and all that, and obviously they'll be looking at him in his first season to do well. So I'm sure he'll be very disappointed. But what they have got at Wren's, they've got a lot of very good quality players. They've got an excellent squad. They've got a good reserve team with some excellent young players coming through. So like they did last year, they had a bad start, and they settled down. I expect them to do the same again. I think they'll be up there. They'll be competitive. But at the moment, I still think Charnock will be the hot favourites to win that division.
We can't really leave Blackpool out of this interview, so what are your hopes for Blackpool this season?
Well, as you know, I'm a big Blackpool fan. I go to all the home games and quite a few of the away games. I was at Wembley when they played West Ham, and I thought they played West Ham off the park and should have won the game. Unfortunately, what West Ham did have was big-time strikers, and their big-time strikers both scored, where at the other end, ours didn't. Dobby missed a couple of good chances, and I think Blackpool have got a really good side and a great system. Holloway's done an unbelievable job, as is Steve Thompson, his assistant, and they have Blackpool playing a really good style of football. It's feet, it's passing, it's more on a sort of Spanish sort of look, if you will, in terms of keeping the football. And West Ham couldn't get it off us in that game, but you've still got to spend a bit of money on the strikers. And one of the big problems Blackpool have is the chairman who does not like spending money. You know, he's got a lot of money come in to the club with the Premiership, millions and all that, but he will not spend it. And the problem he's got is that it's a bit like, if you can liken it to the Northern Premier League in cricket, what they have is a professional player. They have one player who's a star, and he might be a batsman, he might be a bowler, but you know, he will be the difference maker. And what Blackpool have got to realise, the main area of the pitch which wins games when sometimes you don't deserve to is a striker. You can sometimes get battered in the game and defend for your lives, and you'll have one good striker on your part and he'll go and score your goal. And I think Blackpool can push the boat out, and I've got my reservations whether they will or not, to get themselves a real top striker that will cap it off, because if we would have had one at Wembley, we'd be in the Premiership right now. This year, you know, again, the investment hasn't gone in, but they have got a good side in place. We will be a good side again to watch next year. Whether or not, because of that lack of investment in strikers, costs us or not, remains to be seen. But I'm hopeful of watching some good football again, that's for sure.
So, who's your tip for going up?
In the different divisions, well, I'm going to go for in the League Two Fleetwood to win that one. League One, I'm going for Sheffield United, and in the Championship, I think it's going to be won by Wolves. I think Wolves will go up. I think they've kept most of the team that did well in the Prem last year, and I think they're all geared up to go back up for me.
I suppose finally we've got the Champions League, and any sort of tips for that?
Well, I don't think Chelsea will retain it. I think they had a lot of luck to get there, to be fair. They were magnificent in Barcelona, let's face it, to hang on with 10 men and get a win there somehow and go through. And certainly in the final they were outplayed, exactly the same as West Ham were, by Bayern Munich. So I think if City can learn a little bit, you know, in terms of Europe, because they didn't particularly do well last year in Europe, you know, them and United are our best chances, but it's hard to look beyond the two Spanish giants. I think Barcelona and Real Madrid are just too good for everyone else. Bayern is still good, but you'd be hard pressed to look beyond the Spanish giants to win the Champions League this year.
Now, going from one Premier League to another, you won the division again last year?
Yeah, we managed to win quite comfortably in the end, to be honest. I think probably the main reason for that was that Bolton, who would, you know, are traditionally our closest rivals, faltered badly in the early part of the season. I think they lost the first 4 games, so they were never going to recover from that, I don't think, and they never did. So in the end, we had a comfortable margin by, I think, 11 points to win the Premier last year.
One of the concerns last season, I suppose, was the league went down to 5 teams. I mean, you recouped a few teams, but how did it all go in the end?
No, it was a 12-team Premier League, you know, and it ended up that way. And you know, it was quite competitive in some way, because some of the teams that weren't expected to do so well did okay. So it wasn't too bad, but it really was us and Bolton again that was going to win the title, you know, from the start. And I don't think, you know, sure that we had that cushion of them losing them early games, but nobody really threatened to sort of break that. Gardeners had a decent season, but they kept losing the big games. I mean, we beat them, you know, in both games, and Bolton beat them in both games comfortably, and they couldn't really crack the two. And so, to be honest, it was competitive in as much as quite a few teams did well, but there was only really going to be a winner out of us, Bolton or Gardeners, and it was us and Bolton who were clear in the end.
How is the Sunday League? Is it quite healthy at the moment all round?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of concerns at the moment. I mean, the division this year, they're looking at 9 teams only, because teams have dropped out, and teams that did quite well have dropped out, which is very disappointing to me. Teams last year like Great Eccleston, who were competitive, you know, they give us hard games, they've dropped out. Fleetwood Gym were the only team to beat us last year, and they beat us 2-1 at their place. Good hard battling side, they packed in, you know. I really am disappointed that teams that appear competitive and do okay drop out of the league. And so, to be honest, healthy-wise, it's not very healthy. The league is struggling to get teams into the Premier. They tell us that teams are refusing to go in, which I think is ridiculous. And I think teams shouldn't dictate that. The league should tell teams what division they're in, not teams saying, "Oh, we're not going to go in the Prem." So once again, the Premier League is short of probably 3 teams who would have made it a 12-league division again, and it would have made it competitive. And there are probably 3 decent teams in that first division who would certainly not disgrace themselves in the Prem. So that's the disappointing thing from my point of view.
Now, last time I saw you, Mark, you were manager of Culligans, then that changed to Sanuk. Can you tell us a bit about the sponsorship and the team that you're going to be called this year?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things at the moment, because of the current state of affairs, financially everywhere, there is a recession on, and it's difficult to get sponsors, even for a top club like us that's dominated Sunday football as long as we have. We're sponsored this season by Reform Health Club. Maria at Reform has done, an excellent job there in sort of getting the membership up at that club, and she wants a little bit more exposure, so hopefully sponsoring us will do that. There's no question about it. It is that people aren't falling over themselves to hand out cheques and money, and we've had to move sponsors twice from Culligans and Snook to Reform, just to sort of fill that sort of need, really. So that's the situation sponsorship wise.
In terms of the football on the pitch, new players and etc.
Yeah, we never stand still at this football club, as you know, and we've had 2 friendlies so far, both in Preston. One against Leyland United, who won their Saturday last year. We went there 1-4-2, and we played yesterday in Preston against Acregate Labour Club, who are a good solid Prem side in Preston, who are always sort of competitive there, and we beat them 6-0. And in them 2 games we blooded some young lads that have done really well for us. We had a young striker who played yesterday who scored 4 goals on his debut for us, and we're hoping to sort of bring in into the first team this year probably 3 or 4 players of the sort of under 21s to sort of give the club a bit of refreshness. We had a really good side last year, make no mistake about it. We were good enough to win the league, and at the start of the season I felt we could have won the Lancashire as well. As it happens, we got pipped 2-1 by the eventual winners, Mill Hill. We lost 2-1 away in a game that we could have easily won. We were really, there were nothing in the game at all. They just about squeaked us, and they went on to win it. And a lot of our lads felt after the game they were disappointed because they didn't think they were good enough to win it, but they did. They went on and won it. So we're not a million miles away. But we got let down last year by a lot of lads, particularly strikers. And that was mainly down to Saturday football, lads who play Saturday football, who just thought after a few games into the season, I'm not bothered about this. But early doors we were crushing teams 8-0 and 6-0, and losing them strikers cost us, and luckily we've got the best defence in the league by a distance, not only in the Premier League, in the whole of the divisions in terms of goals conceded, and that defence seen us through really. We had a really good team spirit after the departures of a few of these players, and we all stuck together and we've seen the season out. So I'm hopeful that this season that some of the new lads that we've got in will boost us once again, and I'm sure looking at the division, us and Bolton will be the 2 teams to beat once more, that's for sure.
I'd just like to say that you're on your way to watch the Wren Rovers reserves. It's a Monday evening. I mean, where do you keep getting all this enthusiasm for the local football? I
think, to be honest, Danny, a lot of people don't see this side of things. Even my own players don't see that, and people that's involved with us. So a lot of people say, well, how come he's got him playing and he's got him playing? My intelligence on foul football is very good. And one of the reasons for that, on a Monday night when somebody might be sat and watching Coronation Street, I'm down at watching Wren Rovers reserves versus Lytham reserves, because at this level, the young lads that are coming through here, Wren reserves and Lytham reserves, they'll be fielding a lot of lads under 19, 18 that are coming through, and it's the people that pick players up like that who are going to be the stars of the future in Sunday football. I've got lads playing for me now who I signed when they were 16, that I knew from junior football. People like Anthony Pearson, who's been with me for 10 years, Jordan Downthwaite, who's now 21, who I signed when he was 15, 16. I knew about them because I watched them when they were young lads. And a lot of managers, particularly ones that are a bit jealous, they're kind of like, well, how come he's getting these players? Dead easy, mate. Get out on a Monday night and go and watch some football, and then you might be successful yourself.
So, final words, Mark. You looking forward to the season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had a fantastic summer. I'm a sports nut, not just at football, golf, rugby, you name it, American football, I love it all. And it's been a fabulous summer. We've had obviously the Euros, we've had the Open down at Lytham, which has been brilliant. The Olympics is absolutely fantastic, and there's still another week of that to go. And then the football season starts then. So, it's been a brilliant summer. This season it's going to be another exciting one, that's for sure. United will be desperate to get the title back from City, so I'm looking forward to that. Blackpool, I think, is going to play some good football again. Locally, I'm looking forward to seeing Fleetwood and AFC Fylde, pushing for another promotion, and there's some good football locally with the likes of Wrens and Thornton and Poulton and teams like that. So all of those together I'm really looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to bringing through some good young players for my own club Reform this season, and we've actually moved pitches. We moved from Collins Park, which had gone downhill a little bit in terms of the quality of the pitch, and we've moved on to Wren Rovers on the back here, which is they do spend money on that pitch, and whenever we seem to play at Wrens, we play really well there. I think our last 3 games on there, we beat teams 8-0. I think we beat Fleetwood Jim 8-0, we beat Spindles 6-0, and we beat Gardener's Arms 8-0. That's our last 3 games on Wren, so it's certainly a lucky pitch for us, and we're looking forward to playing on there. And I'd like to thank Dave Brule and the rest of the committee at Wrens for allowing us to use the facilities there. So I'm looking forward to the season. It should be a good one.
Thanks for joining us, Mark. We'll see you next season.
Yeah, look forward to it. Cheers, Dan. Thank you.